Okay, good morning, world. Good morning, spirit. Good morning, my God, my Jesus, my lover, my Savior, my Christ. I am recording this video as I am on the way to my blessings, but I'm also recording it as a live testimony and just to actually get some things off of my chest, because I need to rebuke any emotions or any voice that tries to tell me otherwise. You see, the Lord has been speaking to me about a lot of things for a while. And I'm just going to start from the beginning. Last year in April, after two moves before, actually three moves in 2019, I had to leave my daughter's house. It wasn't a good leaving. My youngest daughter, at the time it was her fiance, and they were engaged. And long story short, I had to leave based on the fact that he just didn't want me there. He didn't believe in my calling. He did not believe that I was a good fit for their household, and it basically just disrupted the relationship between my daughter and I. And eventually I became like a part of a fixture in their home, and more so I became nothing but someone to be needed, and nothing, the relationship between my daughter and I just dissipated. So long story short, one day I just couldn't take it anymore, and I probably reacted, as any human, and then if you tie the emotions to being a mother, imagine your child comes in and basically tells you that in less than, let's say, a month, you have to leave her home after you babysit for her, after she knows what you've been through, after she understands who you are, but because someone has told her that it is not biblical and that God didn't mean that she has to honor her parent. So she walks in one morning right after my prayer and meditational time and basically tells me that I have a couple of weeks to move out, to get out. But before she tells me that, she tells me, oh, and by the way, your granddaughter that you've been helping us with and that you love with all of your heart genuinely would babysit without any money. She's going to be going to daycare. So we only need you for a couple of more weeks, and then you can hit the streets, basically. And the frustration that came out of me probably wasn't the best. I'm not going to even lie, but it wasn't the worst. In my situation, I could see someone reacting a lot different than I reacted. I could see someone really going off, but because Christ had me, and again, Christ having me don't make me perfect. It makes me human. And I was hurt. I was like physically hurt in my heart. Like I literally felt an overwhelming feeling. Because one, I was caught off guard. Two, how she came to me, because I initially said, okay, I initially agreed, okay, well, we can part ways. However, after you send the baby to daycare, then allow me to look for somewhere to go. Give me a month. And she basically said, no, once she's in daycare, you got to go. We're not giving you any more time. So that's what kind of, I was like a bottle of soda. I exploded, not on her. My emotions exploded. And long story short, I ended up calling my oldest sister and asking if I could come there, but not really come there. I asked if I could come there, and I was going to ask her to be there once I got there. I just needed to get out of my daughter's house that day. Long story short, I left and I went to my oldest sister's house, who then the enemy used to start tearing me down. Like her jealousy, her envy, her spitefulness, everything that she had shown previously when we worked at the dental office, that my middle sister, well, my sister that's just a year older than me, that I used to live with, actually. And we're going to get to that because you see, okay? But we were all working at the dental office. So anyhow, I'm not going to go that far back. Just know that I had already seen some very envious sides of her, very ugly sides of her. But I had nowhere else to go. And I left in fright. I had already been through so much. I had been through so much. I had lost my grandsons. When I say loss, I rebuke loss, but I had to part ways with my grandsons. My daughter, their mother, was going through a hard time. I was trying to figure out life again, trying to get my foot on the ground. And the enemy just kept allowing everybody around me to attack me. I had no rest. I couldn't rest. I couldn't think. And when you can't rest, you can't think. So it was almost like I was constantly, not productive. But it wasn't the fact that I wasn't productive. I just didn't have space to think and clear things out and know what to pray about. All I was doing is just praying and asking God, but I couldn't hear his voice because I had all these voices around me and I had all these pressures and I had all these, so the harder I prayed, I just sit still because I wanted to wait. I couldn't hear God say move or don't move. I didn't hear it. So long story short, I am recording all this because this is so significant of today. So fast forward, I'm at my sister's house. I left my daughter's house at my sister's house. Now I'm at my sister's house and the enemy comes through her and she's constantly trying to revert me back. We had disagreements of racial. We had disagreements of, her telling me I could use her car and then all of a sudden blowing up on me. I was working a part-time job delivering boxes. My car got repossessed at her house. She knew that. She knew I needed her help just to drop off boxes. I was going to pay her money, like she would have got reimbursed for any gas, okay? And she didn't even have to let me use her car. She just had to I would do the boxes. All she had to do was take them to her job and drop them off, and I would pay her gas. She was never going to have to put gas in her car. It was just an opportunity for her to help me until I could figure something else out. And so anyhow, long story short, I ended up leaving there abruptly after a disagreement with her. One night she just came in like she would always do, and she would poke at me. She would poke at my love for God. She would poke at my, wanting time with God. She would poke at who I was as a Christian. She would poke at what I am doing, my journey, and how God has me in ministry and how he's using me. And this particular night she came in and she wanted to have this conversation about race, white against black. And the Lord has been speaking to me that, like, that's not my fight. That's not, I have to stay clear of that because I don't know who God is going to use. And I've never been the kind of person that is just prejudiced. Like, I've had offensive by, white people, Hispanic people, black people. So if that's the case, I should hate any race, So that's just not my thing. That's not my thing. I didn't raise my children like that. I've never really focused in on that. But here it is now. She comes home and she wants me to focus in on a conversation with her about race. And long story short, the conversation got heated, steamed. I got frustrated. And we ended up having a disagreement. And in that disagreement, she videotaped me as if I was the aggressor. And I'm pretty sure, because of the person she is, I'm pretty sure she videotaped it and she sent it out to everyone in the family. And on the video, she was saying, look, she's crazy, y'all. She's crazy. So I left there abruptly. She told me to leave her home. And this was like in the middle of the night. But the Lord told me to stay still. She actually ended up leaving her house that night. God ran her out and he gave me rest that night. I had nowhere else to go. And she didn't want to be in the house with me that night. So to God be the glory. And I slept. And in the morning, uh, you know, uh, my daughter called and was like, well, Mom, I talked to my sister, which is my oldest daughter, and she said you could come here. Now, I have been avoiding going to any more of my children's homes because the enemy just kept using them to frustrate me. And I was like, I can feel God saying, no, you can't. You got to keep moving forward. I need this separation between you and your children because that's the weapons that are trying to form. So reluctantly, I went because, again, I had nowhere else to go. But when I got to my oldest daughter's house, the tension was thick. It was thick. And my middle daughter, who was my grandson, who is my grandson's mother, who had also landed at my oldest daughter's house in transition of, being separated from her boys by her own rebellion, or her own break that she allowed the enemy to get into her head when I was trying to convince her, begging her not to go to Atlanta. But she rebuked me and she left, and she came back without my grandsons in the worst storm that she could imagine, which as a mother, to be without your children on earth or to have your kids go to, it's hard as a mother because, especially when you feel somewhat to blame. So she came back in a storm and she landed at my oldest daughter's house. And now I'm in a storm and I landed there. And the enemy was just brewing storms there. And my oldest daughter was getting more and more aggravated, irritated, and like I had no peace. I would get up early to pray, meditate it, but, it was almost like I could just feel God saying, I'm going to reroute you again. And all I could think is, Lord, I'm so tired. Just give me somewhere that I can just sit and I can think. Long story short, God did it. He did it. And he did it through a disagreement with me and my oldest daughter, where she literally told me that, get out of her house, get out, We ended up resolving the disagreement before I left her home. She apologized. We got some emotions out, but what she said is what I heard God say, because she told me to get out and to go to my sister's house, which was a sister that I worked for at the dental office who had fired me, like the sister who me and her a year and a half apart in all of our lives. I've only tried to protect her, and she's only stabbed me in the back. Like, there is nothing I could do to get a relationship with her because she doesn't want it unless she can manipulate it. And if I don't allow it, then this is where we end up separated. Why am I recording this? Because I did go to my sister's house after my daughter's. The Lord provided just what I asked for, refuge. I was able to rest. She didn't need any money. She didn't need anything. I was in need of rest. And I didn't even ask her for money. I just needed a place to sleep, think, and not be bothered. God provided. He so provided, so I don't have any complaints. It wasn't easy because, again, this is the same sister who watches me and she manipulates, and her jealousy is just really, really bad. Like, the enemy uses her really bad against me. So I had challenges, staying there with her. She, offered to pay me for cleaning her house. I gracefully took it. The Lord provided finances. He provided through her monies for me to get my boutique. So I see what God did there. Why am I recording this now, right? And why am I showing you this in the back? Well, this same sister is the one that I'm having to leave her home again. But here's the thing, it's God this time. I know it's him. I'm not leaving abruptly. I'm not leaving angry. I'm not leaving mad. I'm leaving relieved and feeling free and healed. And I'm so just thankful to God she didn't really tell me that I can't move with her in this new move, but she didn't really invite me to move. She went and looked at the home. She never invited me to even look at it. She started packing, never offered me to pack. While I was at a conference this weekend, she called my daughter and asked my daughter where I was. And she clearly knew where I was because she told me she was going to move the following week, not this weekend, which was, the weekend before this video that just passed. So it was like she was setting me up again, setting me up like my older sister did, setting me up to look like the bad person. She was setting me up to look like, oh, she's moving and I'm not helping, so that my children can think, oh, your mom is, causing problems again. So, but here's the thing. God had warned me. God had told me maybe a couple of months ago, if that, maybe less. He had told me that he was going to be moving me from there. And he had told me not to buy anything. He had told me to get one suitcase ready. God even has even told me where I'm going, North Carolina. And me trying to figure out how it's going to be done, or fear of what I'm going to do, how, all that, overwhelmed me. And I just kind of blocked it out. I blocked it out. But here's the thing. God had his mercy and his grace was so good, because God started saying one suitcase. One suitcase. Like, get all your stuff down to one suitcase. And, my sister's a great manipulator. Okay. She'll have this moment where she'll go off and she'll treat me like crap. And then she'll come back and she'll be sweet, sweet, sweet. It's like the enemy uses her to get me right where he wants me again. And it reminds me of the same abuse I went through with my husband, because he would abuse me and then he would take me shopping and he'd be so sweet. And all it would took is just a couple of weeks or maybe another incident, and then it was the worst again. And I kept going through that over and over and over again, and it just kept traumatizing my emotions. And this is how she is. This is the same, like God has been telling me this is the exact same situation. So now you have to leave. But this time you're not leaving with children. When I left my husband, I left with children. I left with, Lord, what I'm going to do? I thank God that all I'm leaving now with is my boutique stuff and books and, and half of the stuff is stuff that I acquired that I probably shouldn't have, But God's mercy and his grace is so good, because the storage that I'm at, I'm going to fast forward and maybe I'll go into detail some other time, but I wanted to say this. God is so good. He's so gracious. He's so mercy. He's so forgiving. He's so loving. He's so kind, because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I still don't know the full plans, but I trust God. And the enemy has been trying to disturb my peace through my children, but he will not get it, because God has me, and God has been showing me this. Just yesterday, when I didn't even have this storage, okay? Just yesterday, I had been looking at a storage. I was going to put some money on a smaller storage. It was further away from my boutique, and in my heart, I was like, oh, I don't want to get to that storage. It was too far. I want convenience so that I can move quickly. So, but the price was right for the storage further. I hadn't even seen this storage. So I was going to the storage that I was reluctant to get, but the monthly price was right. So I was doing it based on price. But then I could just hear the Lord saying, do you trust me? Do you trust me for provision? You're back at this point where you have to trust me for provision. You have to trust that I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do for you. And this weekend at the God Sees Me the Woman That God Sees Me conference, which was, the women there was awesome. There were some incidents there that I had to rebuke, but ultimately, I see that Romans 8:28, it worked together, because I met a wonderful lady at the end. Her name was Jessie. And this woman, just by way of God bringing us together for a moment, ended up praying, just opened up my spirit. And she said some things that only God could have told her. And I knew it was God. And it gave me comfort that when I got back to my sister's house and all this negative energy that she was throwing around, it didn't really faze me. I just automatically started planning. I automatically knew that what I had just heard, a word from God, that he was with me, that he was pleased with me, that he was for me, that out of my belly should flow rivers. It gave me a confidence that I needed. So I stand here today on that confidence at the storage that I didn't choose. God chose, and it's more than what I have in my hands. But I trust God, and I believe he's going to do it. And I don't know what happens tomorrow, but the Bible says I don't worry about tomorrow, because if he takes care of the birds, he'll take care of me. I'm back at a place. And I'm like, God, you got to split this Red Sea again. I'm your child. I'm your vessel. I have been called for this. And greater is you that's in me than he that is in the world, that is in my sister, that is in my sisters, that is in the situation. God is my provider. And he's been speaking to me yesterday. He spoke so much. He showed me one. And he kept saying, you're the one. This is the day of the one. The one. And he told me in 2021 that he's leaving the 99, coming after the one. He was speaking to me so much about one yesterday that I found a one chair on the side of the road. And across from that house where I found the chair, across from that house was a neighbor's house that said, pray. And then when I went to Fiesta to buy the lock, the one lock for my storage, and the storage actually ended up being $100. And the number on the storage is 14, which is my grandson's birthday, which has 2 double sevens in it. Like, God has just been, oh my God, I know this is him. I trust him. I believe him. I'm moving on faith. I'm bold with my faith. And I just see him getting ready to part the Red Sea. So I wanted to do this testimony just to update you guys that God is doing it again. I trust him. This will be my living testimony of the goodness of God when he parts these Red Seas. I trust him. I know he's going to do it. He's done it before. He has never failed me. So I'm recording this because this needs to be made known. That I don't know, but I know that God knows the plans that he has for me. And they're plans to give me hope and a better future. Romans 8:28 is in effect in my life. God is not a man. He cannot lie. And I will be still and know that he is God. And I'll wait patiently on the Lord. For if he provides for the birds, am I not more than the birds? Will he not provide for me? So I'm not going to worry. I'm going to trust and keep building like Nehemiah. So that's my testimony on today, April 14th, 2021. Moving in to storage number 14 at 9244 West Belfort. God is thrifty. Nothing wasted in the kingdom.